Good afternoon. My name is Barbara Fuller, and as Chair of the Board, I welcome you to this January 16th, 2024 regular meeting of the Washtenaw County Board of Road Commissioners. Our office coordinator, Aaron Smith, will describe how our meetings operate, how to access the agenda packet, and how people may participate remotely. Aaron.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. There are multiple ways to make public comment during today's board meeting, whether you're joining us in person or virtually. If you're here in person and would like to make public comment, please fill out the sign-in sheet now. If you're joining us virtually, we will ask you to raise your hand at the appropriate time in the agenda. If you're joining us virtually and are experiencing technical issues with audio or video during the meeting, submit a comment in the chat feature and our communications manager will help you troubleshoot. The audio and video of this meeting is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be posted at wcroads.org in the next few days. There are printed copies of today's meeting agenda on the table near the front door and is also posted on our website. And now I'll turn it back over to Chair Fuller.
Thank you, Aaron. I now call this January 16th, 2024 regular meeting to order and ask Aaron to call the roll.
Chair Barb Fuller.
Present.
Vice Chair Rod Green.
Here.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Here.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Present.
And then Commissioner Jeff Smers is absent. And then the following directors are in attendance: Managing Director Matt Washtenaw, Director of Engineering and our County Highway Engineer Brent Schlack, Director of Operations Adam Leip, and Director of Finance and IT Dan Ackerman.
Thank you. Please join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Support. Any additions, deletions, corrections? Seeing none, Aaron, please call the roll.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, the agenda is approved as presented. Next, we have one set of minutes to accept. May I have a motion to accept the board meeting minutes of January 3rd, 2024 as presented, appearing on pages 3 through 8 of the packet?
So move. Support.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections? Seeing none, Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green. And
Yes.
Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, the minutes are accepted. Next item on the agenda is public comment. This is the time set aside on the agenda to receive comments from the public. This is not intended to be a period for dialogue. Each person will be allotted 3 minutes to address the board. Aaron will explain how people may be recognized to offer comments.
Thanks, Chair Fuller. Since this is a hybrid meeting with both in-person and virtual attendees, we will take turns between those attending in person and virtually. For our virtual attendees, we have provided some instructions on the screen on how to participate and make public comment. If you're attending this meeting virtually and would like to make public comment, please raise your hand now. If you dialed into the meeting from your phone, you can raise your hand by dialing *9. Our communications manager will unmute virtual participants with raised hands one at a time and will announce your username or last 4 digits of your phone number when it is your turn to speak. And then please share your name and address before beginning your comments. And then for our in-person attendees, we will start with those who signed up on the sign-in sheet as you walked in. If you didn't sign in, you're still welcome to make comment. At this time, there's no in-person or virtual attendees that would like to make comment.
Thank you, Aaron. We will move on to written communications appearing on pages 9 and 10 of the packet. Commissioners, anything you wish to draw our attention to? Commissioner Yamas.
I want to say good work to James Hugh for the letter from Saline Township ARPA round of applications and helping our townships recognize the round 2 of applying and how to do it.
Thank
So,
you.
good work.
Anything else, commissioners? All right. We will bypass follow-up since there was no public comment. New business, we have consent agenda items. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, items 1 and 2, background on pages 11 through 21.
So moved.
Support.
Anything you want to draw our attention to, commissioners, or ask about? Aaron, if you would, please.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum.
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green.
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Fuller.
Yes, The consent agenda items are approved as presented. We have no action items today. We will move directly to reports. Commissioner Sanders is with us today. Commissioner Sanders, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Road Commission. I forwarded to you a communication that I received from a constituent who had complaints about the road conditions. I forwarded the email actually to Matt and to Commissioner Fuller. So when you have an opportunity, I just received the communication today. So I just forwarded it to you, but I was asked to share with you their concern or dissatisfaction with the road conditions after the storm. So I forwarded that email to you so that you might be able to respond to him. And then I will also share with him the ways that he can report this information himself. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else for you other than to let you know that the Board of Commissioners is holding their meeting tomorrow, starting at 5:30 in person, but people can join us obviously by virtually, and as well, they can submit any concerns or questions to the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners by email and or in person or virtually. That's all that I have to add for you. Good to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. Commissioner Light does not appear to be with us. Is that correct, Tiffany?
That is correct.
Thank you. We'll move on to the report of the road commissioners. Commissioner Smers isn't with us today. I want to assure everybody he's fine. He had something come up at work and couldn't be with us today. Commissioner McCollum, anything to report?
Madam Chair, on January 15th, I attended the Justice Still Matters Martin Luther King celebration at the Brown Chapel AME Church in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and it was very good.
Thank you. Commissioner Yamas?
I read Ed Nyola's CRA legislative updates for the last 2 weeks on Friday, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. Commissioner Green?
Thank you. On the 10th of January, I attended the chat session. We had no attendees.
Very good.
And that concludes my report.
Right. I will report that on Sunday, I responded to an inquiry from State Representative Felicia Brayback regarding snow removal and an icy roundabout at Whitaker Road. And I understand those concerns were addressed by staff. Moving along, we'll go to the managing director, his report, that of his staff, and any other updates you or your staff care to share.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to thank the board for all of your attention and good questions and discussions this morning at the working session. I know we covered a lot of ground and want to thank you for the time for that. I'll start by asking also if there were any questions in regard to the reports in the board packet for the fourth quarter reports, various communications, operations, permits, traffic and safety, and the fix-it report as well.
I don't see any questions.
Okay, all right. Well, then I will go ahead and turn it over to our directors. We'll lead us off, our finance director, Dan Ackerman.
Good afternoon, board. Dan Ackerman, Director of Finance and IT. Hopefully everybody's having a nice afternoon. I feel like we really haven't left from this morning, but maybe it's looking like it'll be a quick meeting, so.
Oh, now you've done it.
I know. I also feel like I jinxed it by thanking Mother Nature at the last board meeting. Mother Nature said, "I'll show you," and obviously winter's here, but it's Michigan, so we have to expect that. As far as finance, we're deep in the throes of year end and working on getting ready for our audit. The audit will be starting January 29th. Commissioner Fuller, I believe they always have an interview with the chair of the board, so plan on it that week. And I don't know if there's any better days for you. for them to meet with you. I guess let me know if there's days that don't work.
Okay.
But
The week of the
typically,
29th.
the first few days of the audit, they would want to meet with you, if not before, which I don't know, have they reached out to you yet or?
Not that I'm aware
Okay,
of. Typically,
okay.
it's a phone call.
Okay, okay, so just want to give you a heads up on that.
I'll watch for it.
Also, the thing that I look forward probably the least, working on the 2023 tax forms, W-2s, 1099s, 1095s. The IRS has changed some reporting requirements, so I don't know if any of you folks have small businesses. So for W-2s, for the employees, you could submit it via paper or snail mail, I guess. If you had under 200 employees, they've changed that threshold from 200 to 10. So if you have less than 10 employees, you need to submit it electronically. So it's a big change.
Hmm.
And you would think, okay, we, get a username and then upload our information. Oh, no, you have to go through the Social Security Administration. I had to provide front and back copies of my driver's license and photographic pictures of it was crazy. All the things that I had to go through. I did let our financial software folks, Precision, know about this change because this is something that so you have until the 31st of January to submit this information to the Social Security Administration. But the enrollment process could take weeks. So if there are agencies that are waiting to the last minute, good luck because, just to get access to the information to the website, it takes a while. So
Every employee has to submit this information?
no, just the employer. The employer submits, yeah. The employer of every organization that has employees that provides W-2s, you have to provide this information to the Social Security Administration, and then they match that up when each individual submits their taxes to make sure nothing's missing, and then for reporting information. So this is employers. That's why I said if you have a small business and you have over 10 employees, you should look into this, and I would be more than happy to provide additional information if any of you are interested. Yeah.
Commissioner
Well, with
McCollum.
the 1099s, you don't have to do that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's coming too.
Be
So,
ready.
we've been actually submitting those electronically for a while. It's just been an easier process for us, so. So yeah, like I said, we're just kind of working on everything is towards that audit and being ready for the auditors. And so they'll be on site the week of January 29th for at least a week. And but we'll be ready, so. And then with regards to IT, we met as a team this morning. And interestingly enough, there were no outstanding help desk tickets, which is pretty rare, and I'm sure there are some by now, but keep that in mind in a moment. We're also working on the computer refreshes for 2024. There's some quotes that were requested for that. And with regards to the first thing I mentioned, I'd like to acknowledge Josh Summerhill. He was recently promoted to System Analyst 2. And just to tell you a little bit about Josh. Yes, absolutely. We can give him. Yep. We do more than a golf clap. I believe he's joined us, and Chris is with us as well. He started out at the Road Commission in July of 2019 as an intern. And then he became a full-time employee in December of 2020. And he's been taking advantage of the Road Commission's excellent tuition reimbursement program. And he got his bachelor's degree while working here. He's now working on his master's, which is awesome. He's been a great employee. I'm sure all of you have interacted with him. Very patient. Sometimes I think maybe it's difficult for him to be patient, especially when it's something silly that us users do. But he's always very patient, usually has a solution for everything. Very, let's see, sorry, I wrote a few other notes. So he handles the majority of the help desk tickets. So going back to the fact there were 0 this morning is a testament to Josh and how quickly he's able to address the entire organization's needs. We've also made it clear that if you're in the administrative building, if you're in one of the outside yards, you're equally important to us. So, you know, we don't forget about you, and Josh does a great job of managing all the needs of the users. And obviously then he's really increased his experience and his knowledge of everything IT at the road commission. So really, you know, he's done a great job. It's just a testament of, you know, what you can do at this organization. So definitely one of the fun parts of the job is to be able to promote someone like that, and you know, just definitely appreciate all of Josh's efforts, and look forward to continuing to work with him. So, but just wanted to share that with the board. Definitely a good thing. And that's my report. If there's any other questions.
Good news.
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Thank you.
What's his bachelor's degree in and where did he earn it? Sorry, never mind.
No, it's funny because I tried to look that up, and Josh, are you still there? Could you answer that question for us?
See there?
I hate to put him on the spot, but I'll let you know. I believe it's computer science. But, oh, okay, that was,
Is he muted?
yes,
Let's see.
yeah, that's okay.
That's probably
But
good.
I'll get back with you on
Sorry,
that.
up here.
I was actually
You-
trying to, oh, hey, Josh.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. So, my report's all about you. I don't know why I'm looking that way because he's not over there, but, yes.
Hey, we are looking over.
Josh, besides congratulations, Commissioner Fuller asked what your degree is in and where you received it from.
So I have a Bachelor's of Science in Information Technology, and I received that from Southern New Hampshire University.
Very good.
Awesome, great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
Good
much.
work.
Yep, we really appreciate you, Josh. Thanks.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions for Josh while he's on the spot?
Oh, please think of something.
No, no, all right. Anything else for me?
No, thanks, Dan.
Okay, yep, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Up next, we have Brent Slack, our Director of Engineering.
Hello, good afternoon. Brent Schlack, Director of Engineering. So I don't have much to report on. We are finalizing our bid package for the upcoming construction projects, but I did want to bring up Aaron Burkholz and then recognize, and James will come up too, but James Hui and Ken Harris. James and Ken are ones behind, they're gonna, last meeting, Barb had asked if we could, or Commissioner Fuller could ask if we could update her or update the board on our ARPA or the water, the storm water resources, stormwater grant program. And so Aaron has been involved with the Water Resources Commission regarding that. And James and Ken are kind of behind the scenes working with the townships. And so I wanted to recognize them. Aaron's going to come up and give a brief description of what that program is. And then James can kind of highlight what we've applied for, what we received, and maybe some of the townships. Today is the due date for the phase 2. So we really don't know what they'll be applying for, but we may have some idea on what townships have applied. So I'll introduce Aaron Burkholz, our Assistant Director of Engineering.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Aaron Burkholz, Assistant Director of Engineering for the Washtenaw County Road Commission. So again, I'll give a little bit of background on the program at hand. The genesis of this grant opportunity actually came from the County Board of Commissioners. In 2022, the BOC elected to allocate $2 million in ARPA funds. Again, that's been discussed at length for several years now, but that's the American Rescue Plan Act. So again, the BOC allocated $2 million to the Water Resources Commission to be used for the purposes of improving stormwater quality, enhancing flood control, and investing in green infrastructure. And so what we saw at that point, as we discussed it, as the Road Commission staff discussed it with Water Resources, was potentially an opportunity for us to work with our township partners to pursue funding to replace local county road crossroad culverts. And there is great and ample, plentiful opportunity for these culverts to be replaced. The way in which we manage that program is we have an annual culvert inspection program. And again, I'll just briefly describe the difference between a culvert bridge. A bridge would be anything that has a span of 20 feet or greater. And so for our county road bridges, we are mandated to inspect those by the federal government through MDOT to inspect those at a minimum every 2 years. And for bridges that are more deteriorated, we have to inspect them more frequently. Again, those qualify for federal funding. Culverts, on the other hand, those being structures that are smaller than a 20-foot span, those don't necessarily qualify for a specific means of federal and state funding. So by and large, it's left up to the road commission and on our local roads up to our township partners to fund for the replacement of these. And I've always said that for a road user, really whether it's a 22-foot span bridge or an 18-foot span culvert makes very little difference, because if it deteriorates and we have to put a weight restriction on it or eventually have to close the road, either way, it's causing an issue for them. They can't get back and forth. So again, this ARPA grant program being administered through Water Resources was a great opportunity. And Brent had mentioned that I've got James and Ken here because I worked with both of them as well as several other staff here at the Road Commission to prepare the information that was needed to provide that information to the townships so they in turn could consider applying for this grant. The first cycle of the grant was announced in January of 2023. So a year ago, Water Resources announced the grant program. Shortly thereafter, they had a virtual workshop. They hosted a virtual workshop and described that grant opportunity. And the first round of grants were due on May 1st of last year. As a result of the road commission staff, such as James and Ken, working together with our townships, the townships were successfully awarded funding on 12 local county road culverts. And James can go into detail on the specific location of those 12 culverts. I'll have him come up in just a moment. But again, this involved 9 townships here in the county. The total amount of funding that was awarded in that first cycle was $569,000. What that is intended to cover is half of the cost of the replacement of the culvert, the construction costs. And that's where Ken and the operations department were so vital in the effort, was because they can accurately estimate what the cost of the culverts are so that we can then provide this information to the township to consider. They can consider whether or not they have the matching funds along with the road commission to take advantage of this grant opportunity. And again, the funding split now is 50% from Water Resources, the ARPA funding, and then 25% from the road commission and 25% from the township. So really very advantageous for all parties concerned. And the next round was just announced last fall. The next cycle of grant opportunities was announced last fall. At this point, in speaking with Water Resources, their intention, what they would like to do is allocate the remainder of the funds. So, approximately 1.4 million. They'd like to allocate the remainder through our management of the culvert inventory, and again, working with the townships to identify good candidates. James just mentioned to me here at the beginning of the meeting that we've offered to the townships to apply for culverts that would total 5.8 million. So it will far exceed the amount of funding that's available in this second cycle. But again, I think there's an advantage to that because again, it shows the great need that exists on the local county roads. So hopefully that will bring about maybe some further grant or some further funding opportunities. But James, if you'd like to come up, you can talk a little bit more specifically about where these culverts are located, the 12 that have been funded.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me here. My name is James. I work with the engineering department. I've been here for the last 8.5 years. And so here's a quick map of the county as a whole. Might be kind of small, but I circled all the spots that we've succeeded in applying for a grant in the first round for ARPA funding. As you can see, it is spread throughout the county. It's not focused in one certain spot. With the grant being kind of new at the time, we understood that a lot of the townships were hesitant on applying for something like this. They didn't want to spend the money or didn't want to put the time into it. But after being so successful in the first round, I would say almost every other township wanted to take advantage of this opportunity. So as Aaron mentioned, we had for the first round, it was about $569,000 of ARPA funding received for 9 townships for 12 culverts. And how we went about this was for the first round, it was kind of hard because there was no precedent on determining a lot of this information. Ken in operations and we got our heads together and just looked at some of the more needed culverts in the county and just determined, what we thought was best for replacement. So that's how we determined those 12 culverts in the first round. For the
We
second
have a
round,
question. Commissioner
Yes.
McCollum.
Yeah, I'm counting 11 circles.
yes,
Does
so in,
one look different or?
yep, so in Bridgewater Township, right in the borderline of Freedom and Bridgewater,
Yeah.
there's actually one circle that covers 2
Oh, I
culverts.
see the 2
The
dots.
green dots are the culverts that
Oh.
we got. But the red circles just make it a little bit easier for you to see. So for the second round, as Aaron has mentioned, yearly we have inspections on all of our culverts throughout the county. It's by a tiered system, so every row of the county gets inspected every 1 year. So every 4 years, all of the culverts we have are inspected. And in the county itself, we have about 2,800 documented culverts. These are only 5-foot to 20-foot span, so width culverts. We have thousands more that's under that, which makes up a majority of our crossings in the county. But as Aaron mentioned, these culverts are relatively big. If it does close, it is a big impact and it would take a lot of resources to replace. So for this second round, as Aaron has mentioned, there's about $1.4 million left of the funding. And we were very ambitious, understanding that we're not going to get all of the money. We applied for as many culverts as we can physically visit. So we looked at in our inspection system, all the culverts are rated from a 1 to a 10, with 10 being brand new, the best, the newest, the best of the best culvert, to 1 as in poor, in really bad condition and might need to be closed. So we looked at all of the culverts throughout the county that were rated a 4 or below, that is poor or below. That took us about 3-4 days of being out there. We looked at it this fall, so it was relatively cold, and me and the heavy equipment team in Ken, we went out to every single one of these culverts and took a look at them because we need to figure out, for the grant, we need to figure out, what we need to do. Do we need trees cut? Are we going to impact residents? Do we need property? What kind of culvert we need to put back in? What do we need for permitting? There's a long list of items that we need to consider before we can say, here you go, you need to replace this culvert for, a couple $100,000. And surely, townships are going to question, if we were to present them a culvert that's $500,000, they're going to ask, what are you going to do here? And we want to be prepared for that. So after looking at all of these culverts, we reached out to all of the townships, all 20, and we basically said, here are all the culverts we are considering for this ARPA grant, understanding that there is only $1.4 million left, and we might not get all that funding. And I would say a majority of those townships had a positive response. And we're in approval of applying for these grants. And with them responding positively, we understand that the townships are budgeting, considering, implementing these projects into the upcoming years. So after all of our visits, we visited about 36 culverts. We had 34 submitted. As far as I'm aware, I've provided all the information for 34 culverts. I'm getting a trickle back because today is the deadline for submittal, but townships are letting me know that they have submitted and they have used the information we provided. So we hope to know soon. I don't know when they will let us know, announce the grants. But we do hope that by the end of this cycle, we would have many more culverts on top of the 12 that we have now for construction up to 2026. In a lot, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Commissioner McCollum.
Yeah, so this map shows the bridge culvert projects, the green dots. It doesn't show all of the culverts.
Correct. So the ones that were circled are the ones that we were granted. So these are the for sure projects that we will have in the upcoming seasons. So the 36 that we talked about for the second round will not be on the map until we know for sure they are granted.
Yeah, and I'll offer just a couple other comments. One of the things to keep in mind is that the grant opportunity is not specifically for local county road culvert replacements. There are other things that would qualify for this grant. Potentially things like bioswales or stormwater detention, things that wouldn't necessarily relate to the work that we do here at the Road Commission. So again, there's $1.4 million approximately remaining in the original $2 million grant, but Water Resources will have to consider these local county road culverts along with other grant applications that may come in for other types of stormwater quality investments. But the other thing, just to be clear, is that the townships actually were the ones applying for the grant. They'll be awarded the grant, and our intention is to financially participate. Again, we're paying for 25% of the construction costs on that, and for us to by and large perform the work with direct force, with working with Adam and Ken and Jared and our heavy equipment crew. Our crews will perform these culvert replacement projects. So again, I can't say enough about how impressed I've been with the collaboration within our organization between engineering and operations, the great collaboration that we've had with the townships and even between townships. And to the point, with Bemis Road, those two culverts on Bemis Road are on a township line road. And so Bridgewater Township and Freedom Township collaborated and agreed that they would each pay 12.5% to combine to come up with their 25% of the construction costs. So a lot of good collaboration all around. And again, looking forward to taking advantage of this additional funding so we can improve the local county roads.
How much was submitted? You talk about 1.4 is left for the Water Resources Commissioner to divvy up.
Yep.
How much does our townships submissions represent?
So
10 times that amount, or?
yeah, yes, it's far exceeds. So yeah, so in the first cycle of grants, again, they made their announcement on May 1st to the townships, informing them of the culverts that had been selected in the first cycle. That totaled 569,000. They awarded in total like 700,000. So there were some additional projects that were beyond local county road culvert replacements that related to other types of stormwater quality enhancements. So we don't know for sure how much of that remaining 1.4 million will go to local county road culverts, but the information that James has provided to the townships, if we take that, if they apply for all of them that he's provided them information for, that would total roughly 5.8 million.
That was round one.
Round two.
This is round two. Round two would be
Got
5.8
it,
million
okay.
if they apply for
Okay.
all the culverts that we provided information for. So,
And in round one,
yep, round one, we applied for 14 culverts. The townships applied for 14 culverts in
said 12,
total,
but okay.
and they received funding on 12.
Oh,
So there were
awarded.
2 culverts that were submitted, one in Saline Township on Macon Road, and another one on, help me out, James, where was the other one? I don't remember.
the other
But there
one.
was one other one, and we offered to the 2 townships involved for those 2 culverts that were not awarded in the first round to reapply. Water Resources had encouraged them to do so.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So what was the need identified by the 14 that were submitted the first round?
Primarily the need is they're structurally deficient.
Right, but you said
Yeah.
it was 5.8 for phase 2 was the
Yes, so
need.
the need for the first round, what was the total in the first round? It'd
Just
be-
ballpark, I'm just.
Over
Yeah,
a million.
ballpark, it would have
Where did
been.
it-
Over a million.
about
Yeah,
a
a million, million
or
two.
so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, if I could just add to this, certainly the grant amount available is far less than what's the need. This good work that has been done helps identify future projects for our local road matching program. So as this board has policy for many years now, we'll match 50-50
Mhm.
for any culvert that the township wants to do a project for. So in our local road packets, we now will have very accurate estimates because we've done a lot of work for this grant program. So even if something isn't funded through the grant, the road commission still has the policy that we will match 50-50 for any local road culvert.
may I assume that should there be congressional earmarks available again, you had a meeting with Georgia Frost
Next week.
next week? So when there are those kinds of projects that are being trolled for, you've got things right on the shelf, ready to go, right?
Yes.
The drop of a hat. And that timeline, as I remember, was really tight.
Yes.
Was it 2 weeks or something to turn those around to the Congresswoman?
It varies depending on the law and the activity of what's going on. But those community project lists are on the ready. Absolutely.
Good work. Good work. Commissioner Green?
And so each of these culverts is going to be completely replaced, is that correct?
Yes, so the 12 that were selected in the first cycle of funding, each of those 12 would be replaced. Our hope is that should the weather cooperate and should all materials arrive, that we would put forth the effort to replace all 12 this year. So,
And a big factor is securing the permit as well. And
Yeah,
James
Eagle.
does a great
Yes.
job of working with Eagle. He's got a very good relationship with our partners that issue those permits, and that's a big part of the
Mhm.
equation as well. As you recall, a number of these culverts are already included in our budget, and if things were successful at getting permits and procurement for pipes, we can add to the budget either in first quarter or second quarter. But the goal is to do the work with our own forces.
Yeah.
And we can really control costs that way.
And
They do a
all of
great
the,
job.
all of the work and the funding has to be spent by the end of 2026. So we do have some time. Again, it'll be interesting to see the outcome of this second round of call for applications. And then we can continue to work here at the road commission and with the townships to be strategic about when the culverts are going to be replaced. But again, we do have a little bit of time to be able to complete all.
And did Webster and Dexter collaborate as well? I'm not sure,
Yes, they have submitted culverts for ARPA grants.
but did they go 50-50 like you said Bridgewater and Freedom did? Did they-
Yes, they have, yeah.
Great. Commissioner McCollum?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, if this is the grant money, if something should happen where you have to go over, the amount, would the grant take care of that? Would they give you more or?
So the grant is capped at whatever we applied for. So anything that's over would be split between the road commission and the townships.
I see.
So these have not been permitted by Eagle yet?
A few of them has and a lot of them have not.
I just remember Bethel Church Road in Sharon Township
Yes, and that,
was initially permitted and then somebody else came out and
That
said,
was
"Oh,
one of
no,
my
no,
pro-
no, it's
that-
gonna be more."
yep, so that was one of my projects. I keep that in the back of my mind all the time when I'm doing.
So do we have to deal with that person or?
Same person,
person.
so we're a lot better at doing
Such
it
a
now.
shame.
So we're hoping to get them up
Okay,
soon and as best we can.
okay. Great.
Great job. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Are we gonna hear from Mr. Harris or is he gonna be allowed to slip
I
out the
think you
door?
elected.
Okay. Don't want you to miss your chance, Ken.
Thank you.
He can get another opportunity. We have the operations report coming up.
Oh, all right, all right. Thank
Well-
you. This is exciting. This is a good day.
That concludes my report unless there's any other questions.
Any questions for Brent?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brent. Next up, we have Director of Operations, Adam Lake.
You gotta top this now, Adam. We've had great reports.
Good afternoon, Adam Lape, Director of Operations. As long as you guys keep buying us salt, we'll be okay, and Ken can make plenty of noise out on the road with that salt.
I thought you had extra left over from last year.
Well, we did. We did.
Or this
Yeah,
weekend, maybe?
so about 48 hours ago. it
Yeah.
seems. Yeah, so we're gonna present, have a few little pictures today and a little bit of a video, kind of relating back to the previous weather we had here last weekend.
Is
All right.
this Tiffany, our TV
Yeah, so
producer?
Tiffany's kind of driving there, so somewhat comical, the look there, that was right before everything started. And so obviously we set out midday, probably 2:30, 3 o'clock on Friday and really started literally chasing the snow that we kind of waited for. And I promise you, it didn't look like this for very long. And so we have a little video here that will show kind of what it looks like during the event. So we're
What
working
time
on.
is this?
So this is Platte Road. And I'm not sure what time of the day. It looks probably late day. I would assume Saturday or Friday. Oops. Yeah, so 1:16. So that's probably finishing up one of our shifts. So just kind of, you see the crews kind of bladed off the center of the road, now just pushing off things to
Yeah.
keep from blowing back in there. That's District 5 crew there. And as you know, you started with that and then you ended with the front plow. So we kept pretty busy. So like I say, started, mid-afternoon on Friday. The crew worked till essentially 8 o'clock Friday night, went home, got some rest, started back and did another full shift, started at 4 a.m. Saturday. About really early morning on Saturday, little Arctic blast kind of changed all that for us. So things, 3 to 6 inches is kind of what's on the ground, but we had quite a bit more in some areas and quite a bit less. Just mainly because it started raining on top of it and it was melting as it was snowing. So not really the best tracking of where we're at, but we know we have a few inches laying on the ground now and kind of blew around quite a bit. So we got those front plows out and kind of District 4, District 5, they did quite a bit of pushing. District 3 had some pushing to do with blowing spots and then everybody else was just kind of managing as they went. Didn't do any favors on the unpaved road system because everything was slushy and then it just froze solid. So a little bit of snow yesterday afternoon and mainly this morning has actually helped us a little bit of traction on top of the ice. So give our crew some time to keep spreading some abrasive out there and kind of work through that. So the crew ended up working on Sunday as well. Most of the day Sunday, a little later start like we typically do. We try to give some time for everybody to catch some extra hours of rest. Start about 7 o'clock on Sunday, work till about 6 in the afternoon or in the evening on Sunday. And then thankfully didn't have to spend much time on Monday. They were able to kind of get some rest. And then this morning kind of came back and bothered us again. But with it being cold, the salt's not really that effective. So really we find a time we get the road kind of cleared off to similar to what the video we just looked at. And then we just basically lay the salt down and let it lay there until you get glimpses of sun like we did here in between our break here, where it really starts melting and might give you a chance to dry things up quick. Sometimes when it's this cold, it's actually, if you can get it wet quick enough, it'll freeze dry and then you can get back to a dry road surface, but not always that lucky. So We kind of kept our way through it, made our way through, but really just kind of wanted to get a thank you out to, Ken, Jared, he's kind of out probably still chasing snowflakes. The communications team for kind of communicating the message. And then obviously the drivers and the mechanics, they dealt with some conditions this weekend. Wasn't a lot of snow, but it was just challenging. The shop, kept those frozen trucks moving and functioning, which is at one point we had torpedo heaters trying to, thaw out the trucks because it just got really cold. So a thank you kind of goes to everybody. We appreciate it. A lot of long hours, but so we didn't have winter and now we have winter. So we're making it through. But yes, we do have salt, but we will be ordering some more. And like I say, just that dedication that the team has, it's appreciative. I am for sure having done it and kind of worked through the processes of it to sit at home and know that it's happening on Saturday and Sunday and any hour that it has to is kind of nice. So I wish I was out there doing it, but I don't have to lie to you. And tell you
And heavy truck drivers.
yes, ma'am.
Imagine
And that
having to-
CDL, that CDL still has a little bit of dust on it, but it'll still work. But no, they probably safer on the equipment, keep me out of it. But like I say, thank you to everybody involved. I really appreciate it. And then even our facilities team worked yesterday because they have to work off hours to try to clear the parking lot when no one's here. And then engineering helped us this morning, kind of move everything out of the way so the crew this afternoon can shell off all the snow that was sitting on the parked vehicles over the weekend. And so it takes a lot of people and really everybody here to kind of make just a couple inches of snow go away. It's challenging. So, but we made it through.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the operations department. They did a great job, and in particular, Ken and Adam and Jerry do a good job of communicating where they're at. And maybe if you could just give a summary of the approach. I know we definitely were after the primary and the state trunk line, but then in between, I think you Jared had shared a few notes that I think the board would be interested on an update.
Yep. So yes, the thank you really, I mean, it's Ken, Jared and the team, the foreman, the drivers, they're kind of doing the hard part, it starts with me a little bit. We talk about it, but really they're the ones with the wherewithal really making it happen. So mission wise for us, Friday, as the picture shows, we're on the primary system that whole evening. We don't leave that system, still focusing because that's considered kind of during the event still. Saturday morning, same thing. Really focus on the primary system, getting the trunk lines opened up. And what I mean by opened up is snow moved as far as we can away, treated if the temperatures were favorable. Saturday wasn't quite there because it was cold. So there's some of the roads we tried to leave dry as long as we could. A big thing with snow and ice is, your kind of mission to keep it dry as long as you can, because as soon as you get it wet, you own it. And that's kind of a term we use because as soon as we get it wet, we're here for the rest of the day because then you have to monitor it for refreeze. So crew work that. Kind of all the way into midday Sunday, even Saturday evening, and then into Sunday. Eventually started finding our ways when we could, when timing worked for the routes, and it's specific, to the driver and to each crew. So we kind of give them that freedom to kind of function independently as they need, because some operators, whether it be traffic, favorable wind, if it's a north-south road, they might be doing more. This weekend would have been more drifting. Whereas like an east-west route might have cleared up a little easier because it would have blown itself dry, where those drivers could have got into the secondary system, so the subdivisions. And then as you get to the west side of the county, where they could even in the northeast portion of the county, a little less subdivision work, where they could have got to that third priority, got onto the unpaved road system, which is a priority for them because we have so many motorists out there driving on the unpaved road system. So that was kind of the trigger point there, is really what the wind was doing is when we could get into our secondary routes. And unfortunately, that's all the drivers doing the primary routes have to go to their secondary and tertiary routes. So it takes a little bit extra time, but that's usually, a part way into the event. So when you see that transition where the snow starts to slow down, or maybe the sun comes out within probably 2 to 3 hours, then the crew would be looking to try to get into the subdivisions. And so that's why if we kind of rewind back a little in depth, but good history for the board, rewind back probably 5-6 years ago, we really worked with the board to get the approval to kind of authorize the overtime in subdivisions. And that was a really big change for us because prior to that, 2 or 4 inches of snow, you tried to measure how much you had, and it was a lot of work. And then there were days where we basically lost sunlight. And so it was nice to have the board approve that. So we can, assign that overtime and the crews can come in and work when they have good daylight. And also trying to get roads pushed out in the subdivisions prior to Monday morning. It was always a mad rush 5-6 years ago to try to get everything done Monday morning while people were trying to get out of their house. So for us to try to work on the weekend a little bit extended hours helps us usually to get through and get things pushed out, especially when we have Arctic air like this, because it's just frozen. The trucks don't cut that really solid ice, so we just open them up as much as we can. We leave salt there for when the sun does come out. Very similar to how we maintain the primary system, but the secondary system, you just don't have the traffic and you don't have the speed. So the salt's not really getting ground in, you're just kind of waiting on it to work. So we just kind of widen things out as best we can, try to get the curbs exposed. And at that point, then you're just hoping on some warmer weather, which we'll see here in a few days, but might bring a little bit more snow. So I know that's a little in depth, but that's kind of the mission to, you have to play the weather a little bit before you find that secondary system, but we stay very true in lockstep as across the county to our primary system or secondary system, the tertiary system. It just, some come earlier than others because, like I say, there's some weather factors and just simple routing factors. Efficiency of the route or just direction of the wind is probably the biggest thing some days.
Yeah, and then any other subsequent weather events like this morning,
Yeah.
delay our crews getting into those secondary roads, so.
Correct. Yeah, so this morning would have backset us a little bit where we had to come back out on the primary roads when we could have just started the day at normal time and spent more focus on just scraping on the back roads, the unpaved roads, and trying to get some abrasive laid down. But having to come back to the main system slowed that process down. And with the temperatures, it is as it is. And so we try to just work with what we have and a little bit of snow, like I say, is really helpful with traction sometimes.
Questions for Adam? Commissioner Green?
I would, just like to say that your crew did a fantastic job. You were doing even some secondary roads by Saturday, and I
Yeah.
saw that it was just a very prompt response. I appreciate your work.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we have a really dedicated team and they're becoming more efficient by the minute. A lot of newer employees that are just learning this. So, we haven't had a lot of training time with some of the employees. So the off-season work we've been doing with rodeos and training in the classroom, just kind of talking about snow and ice, is beneficial. Some of the foremen are kind of reporting back. At least they don't look like deer in the headlights, so you've had some time to talk about it. And we do appreciate the compliments. It's all the group. It's all them keeping us moving.
Anything else for Adam?
Okay.
Thank you, Adam.
Well, thank you.
Thanks
So one little
thanks to your
thing,
crew.
Webster Township, we're gonna start meeting with them since, it is snowing, but spring's on the way. We're gonna meet with Webster Township this evening and talk to them about local road programs. So might have another agreement on the horizon, at least drafted. So,
Great.
yeah, thank you.
How many are in place now?
We have Sile Township, and I believe that's the only one that's signed in. Everybody else, York Township, Augusta Township, Saline Township, they're all ready. It's basically just getting our new cost. So that'll be sometime in February. And then they'll sign. They're already prepared to know where they're gonna go. So, yeah, so we're doing pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe not be in ink, but yeah, we're far ahead of the game. Dexter Township has cut trees already into 2025. With some of the savings we had for this year. So we did forestry work ahead of the time. So, yeah, so we're really, really moving fast, honestly. So it's good.
Nice work.
Yeah, once again, that's kind of the team that's helping us with that. So, thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you.
If I may, Matt, I'd just like to draw the commissioner's attention to this township update for January. That was expertly prepared by Tiffany, Aaron, and Emma, as I understand it. I referred to this over the weekend. And then we have a policy, actually, general operations. I think I've got the right copy in front of me. It's operations -02 adopted in October of 2021. Is that the most recent version? But that will go through and describe in greater detail than here which roads actually are primary 1, priority 2, priority 3, and priority 4. There are narratives there. So if you want to brush up on what it all means, you have that at your ready. Matt?
I'll just add that winter maintenance page on our website also describes that in a summary format. So, and great job by the communications staff to get that information out to our townships.
I always get confused on what's priority 1 versus priority 2. I understand I certainly understand what a gravel road is, but I get confused on priority 1 and 2. So that's helpful.
Great reminder. That's all I had to report.
Oh, okay. Anybody? Bueller? No? All right. I will point out that our next regular board meeting is February 6th, February already, at 1 o'clock. Virtual chat sessions tomorrow. I'm the commissioner on call. January 24th is Commissioner McCollum, and January 31st is Commissioner Smers. There's no further business to come before the board. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Support.
Aaron, if you would please call the roll.
Commissioner Joanne McCollum,
Yes.
Commissioner Rod Green,
Yes.
Commissioner Gloria Yamas.
Yes.
And Commissioner Barb Buller.
Yes, we are adjourned. See everybody in February.